One of the most famous characters to live in the Smoky Mountains was Levi Trentham. Born on February 22, 1852, Levi was one of 10 children. In his younger days, Levi scratched out a living trapping bears and selling hides. When outsiders started traveling to the Smokies as tourists, he worked as a guide, storyteller, and ran a grocery store. Levi became something of an icon and was given titles like Prophet of the Smokies. His picture was featured on postcards. He led an interesting life, one that could justify a full-length documentary. I recently ran across several of Levi's stories, recorded by people who had heard him tell them, and I thought I'd share them with you on this week's episode of the Weekly Holler. One story Levi liked to tell was the cautionary tale of a blacksmith named Husky who decided to hike over Blanket Mountain in the middle of a blizzard. We warned the old man not to go, but go he would in spite of hell and high water. He got up there top of Smoky. A skiff of snow was falling when he left here, and got bedeviled in a snowstorm a-comin' up, and the frozen fog got down on him, and driving cold like hell a-hootin' for sideways, and got into a bear trail a-thinking it was a path. He got his foot caught fast in a big bear trap and drug it around there in the snow and fog a-right smart. And they found him next spring under a pile of brush where he'd crawled, and he was as dead as a doorpost. He'd been there no telling how long. These fellers that sets bear traps out without marking them is just doing the general public an injury. Them traps can be marked with a sourwood switch just as easy as not, but the matter with a plenty of them is they're just too lazy and trifling to take the trouble. They're just too trifling to live. Another of Levi's favorite stories was a tale about a time he killed a bear with nothing more than a pine knot. A bear was a-pesterin' me a good deal, a-killin' my shoats up there at the edge of the pasture. I just allowed I'd get rid of him. I set a big bear trap up there where the stock couldn't get to it and where nobody'd get cotched, and I waited. One cold morning I went up there to look after my hogs. A little skiff of snow had fell, and I wasn't looking for my old bear so soon, but there he was in the trap, a-snarlin' and a-snappin' and a-layin' back his tusks at me. I didn't have no gun, but the thoughts of them pigs I was losing just went all over me, and I flew into a temper. There was a heavy pine knot laying there, and afore I thought, I had snatched it up and was belaboring that bear, and he was boxing with me, trying to slap that weapon out of my hand. We fought up and down for a spell, and after a while I give him a crack that seemed to daze him, and seeing my chance, I run in and let him have a good one on the ear, and down he went. I had finished him. The hook of that trap was caught on a little root no bigger than my little finger, and if he'd made a lunge, I wouldn't have been here to tell this tale. In his book, Whistle Over the Mountain, Bill Hooks says that Levi was illiterate, but had devised a unique way to run his grocery store. Levi's accounting system consisted of a series of nails hammered into the walls of his store. Each nail signified a customer. When a customer purchased an item on credit, Levi would sketch a picture of the item they'd bought and put it on that customer's nail. This occasionally led to some humorous mix-ups. One day, a man walked into the store and accused Levi of cheating him. He'd been in earlier to pay off his account and said that Levi had charged him for something that he hadn't bought. Uncle Levi said, "What be it?" The customer said, "Well, you charged me for a wheel of cheese and I ain't bought no wheel of cheese." Levi said, "Well, what did you buy then?" "I bought a grindstone." Levi told the man that he'd just forgotten to draw a hole in the picture, and that's why he'd got the cheese instead of the grindstone. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Weekly Holler. For more stories, head on over to theweeklyholler.com and subscribe to our free email newsletter. You can also find The Weekly Holler on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter.